Hey everybody, second day of our civil rights lesson here, and what we want to take a look at today is after Rosa Parks provides that spark, after we get some court cases and we get MLK providing a vision, we're going to see rapid growth and participation in the civil rights movement. And so I've circled that for you right there so you can see that that's going to be the focus here. And we're also going to continue to talk about how African American and white protesters looking for an advancement in civil rights for African Americans are willing to provoke violence by using peaceful methods. In other words, the actual protesters are not violent, but the people responding to them, those are the ones that are violent. And so let's take a look here at this in a little more detail and talk about how this happens. One of the groups we talked about yesterday was CORE. We had said the Congress of Racial Equality had begun to fight against segregation at restaurants in the North and theaters and so on, and that its movement grew really quickly in the 1950s and into the 1960s. Remember their goal here, right? Their whole point is to end Jim Crow, to get rid of Jim Crow legislation and Jim Crow laws. Those laws that segregated buses, schools, restaurants, and other public facilities throughout the South, right? Those were Jim Crow laws, and CORE wants to get rid of them. And so they begin their southern sit-ins at drugstore counters, Woolworths, actually, in Greensboro, North Carolina. In a matter of 2 months from that sit-in at Greensboro, North Carolina, at that Woolworths counter, we're going to see CORE members holding protests in 54 cities in 9 different states. So we're going to see a dramatic increase in protests around the country regarding the end to Jim Crow laws in the South. Using these sit-ins as a form of protest, you're going to see a lot of facilities integrated North and South. And that success of CORE really encouraged other groups to form and start to do work as well. One of them was students getting involved from colleges and high schools. They formed the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and they would go out and do very much the same thing. They would look for Jim Crow laws and then peacefully protest those Jim Crow laws and expect to be treated violently to show the rest of America just how backward and wrong these Jim Crow laws were. Here's an example of the kinds of things they had to do. This is a Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee training. I know it looks like a woman getting beat, but both of these people are with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And what you have to do if you're committed to nonviolence is be prepared. What if somebody attacks you? What if somebody hits you? How are you going to respond? And so you, as the volunteer, would face beatings. This is what it feels like to be hit. This is what it feels like to be punched. This is what it feels like to have your hair pulled. Confront that fear and don't fight back. Because remember, the whole point of nonviolent resistance was to teach love, to show that it was possible to love one another and fight back against hatred with love.